Hello everyone, it's AJ here again, and I'm with a special guest here to talk about
Hi.
conditionals and conditional statements. You want to introduce yourself?
Hi, my name is Patrice. I'm a tech instructor here at UW-Madison.
And what got you into Python?
When I first applied to work here, I was interested in 3D imaging, and then I realized that to be able to do that, I actually had to know how to program. And so when the prospect of teaching Python came up, I jumped on it, and I wanted to learn it so I could teach it.
And you've been doing a great job. Thank you. So Patrice is here, and I'm here to tell you a little bit about the new topic, conditionals and conditional statements. So we're going to cover the following things today. Right away, I think I can handle this one. How does code run? So code runs by looking at each line of code, one thing after another. And so what a conditional is, as you described to me just a few moments ago, it's an interruption in that. It's like a fork in the road.
Yes.
Where it's either gonna, based on what it's looking at, a certain value, it's gonna say, I'm gonna run this code, or I'm gonna run this other code.
Or do nothing.
Or do nothing. Exactly. Just run the next code.
Just run the next line of code, yes.
So tell us about conditional statements. So how do we do that in Python?
So with conditional statements, there's three things you need to know. There's an if statement, an if-else statement, and if-else statement. So these are basically just different levels. So with an if statement, you have one condition. With an if-else statement, you have one condition, but you have two options.
Okay.
Then with an if-else statement, you have multiple conditions and multiple options of code to run.
Okay, and that will...
And we will illustrate that later.
Yeah, will make sense. So Boolean value, pretty easy. It's just true
It's
or
true
false.
or false, yes.
And then Boolean algebra, it says handling multiple conditions. So it's true or false, but it's a couple different things.
Yes, so
and
if
you're
you have
comparing
two
them.
options, and if both of them are true, or both of them are false, or neither of them are true, then you can make a decision from there.
Yeah.
And
So
we will explain that later.
we'll get into
in
that.
the lesson. Yes.
So that's what this video is going to contain, and we're going to move right into conditional statements.
Of course. So the first conditional statement, like I said, is a if statement, and this is a possible detour in the code. It's a great illustration of what it would be. So like I said, you have one condition and one conditional code. And this is the example where if the condition is false, you do nothing, like AJ said, when you get to the fork in the road. So you have one condition. If it's true, you run a certain line of code. If it's not true, you just keep going and you just run down the next line of code. And we can show you guys how that works in idle.
Yeah, while Patrice is bringing that up, just as a reminder, put the video now on half your screen, and then on the other half, bring up idle yourself so that you can follow along.
All right. So yes, in idle, this is a good way to illustrate an if conditional statement. So I'm gonna say, call my x equal to -4. Oops.
Okay.
And so this is my conditional statement. I say if.
Can you just really quick print x really quick so we can see what that looks like?
So when I print x, and you have to put it in parentheses, it prints out -4 because my x is -4.
Pretty simple. All right.
But now with my if statement, I can change that. I can say if x is less than 0. I can say change that x, make x equal to 0 instead.
All right, so basically, let me just slow this down a little bit. This is the fork in the road. You're saying,
yes,
look at what x is. If it happens to be less than 0, in this case it is, it's -4.
Yeah, change it to 0.
Then run the following code, which all you're doing is x equals 0. So
yes.
resetting x to 0.
Exactly.
If it's not less than 0, so if it was 7, nothing would happen.
Nothing. Yeah.
It would just remain 7.
Yes, and we can show that to the students here. So if I go here and click enter and say print x now, it'll print 0.
It changed to 0.
Yeah.
High five.
But now let's test this thing that you said if it was greater. So if we said x is equal to 7, like you said, and then say if x is less than 0, again, x equal 0.
Now you hit enter and then you have to hit enter again. Oh, I understand, because it's looking for, you can do as many lines of code as you want.
Yes.
And then if you don't put anything new, it'll just allow you to
Go enter.
Okay,
yeah.
let's print X.
So now let's print X,
Should be 7.
and it's 7 because X is greater than 0, so it's just 7.
Pretty cool.
Exactly.
Let's
so now
go to the
let's
next
go back to the presentation and move on to the next conditional statement, which is an if-else statement.
Okay.
And this means one of these conditions will be run. So you come to a fork in the road, you have your condition. If this condition is true, you run your if code.
Okay.
If this condition is false, you run your else code. So you have 2 options of code, but 1 condition.
So for a quick example, based on the one we were just doing,
Mm-hmm.
if it was -4, turn it to 0. And now we'd have an opportunity to say,
Say
it, but
else.
else,
Just
turn it to 10.
10, yes. And we have an example of an if-else statement here
All right,
that
let's
we can
run
run
it
in idle. So let's go back to idle. And we can say, let's make our x equal, AJ, what value should we do?
Oh, I'm leaving this to you.
I'll make x equals 10.
Okay.
All right. And then I'll say if x is less than 0 again. Oops. Print oh, you have to make a string. The x value is negative.
Yes.
And print another statement that says,
Oh, that's fun. We're just printing all around.
yes, I kind of want to change it to 0.
So these are just fun statements showing us that we can have multiple lines of code.
Yes. And then now you can print an else statement.